Don't wanna miss this train. So Lord, we thank you in advance.
Good God afternoon. You have tuned into The Solutions. I am your host, Minister Corey Wright. And as always, we know what the problems are, and we know we need to solve them. What I offer on this platform is solutions, dedicated acts of action that bring about true change, not just talked about change, and no excuses. Excuses are man's tools of incompetence that build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothing. People of God, she is back. I got this beautiful young lady. I see Black Butterfly got her back here last week. Unfortunately, she got into a car accident, so she was late. But her dedication was so amazing to me that I said, you know what, she has to be back on this week for my 2-hour show. I have the firekeeper here. You all buckle up. You are about to be amazing. She is not just talented, but beautiful. That's why I went to the barbershop, got my hair cut. So to make sure I walk in here like, oh my goodness. But ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and I present to others. We have Loretta. We have the firekeeper. Ladies and gentlemen, firekeeper.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here, Reverend Minister Wright. I enjoyed myself immensely last week, and I appreciate so intensely your inviting me back again today.
Oh, it's my honor. It's my honor. I feel you can tell she's a very educated. Mm-hmm. People of God, you're gonna be amazed by her. Let's just talk about that. We were talking about that when we came in. All the educational accolades you have. You tell us a little bit about her?
Yes, I grew up on the west side of Chicago, and I attended Marshall High School.
Okay.
I inadvertently graduated from high school early. I didn't intend to, but I did.
Inadvertently? How did that happen?
I went to summer school after the first year, and I enjoyed it so much, I decided I'd go back the second year and the third year, summer school. And when I walked in my senior year, they said, well, you know, you need to leave. You know, you've got enough credits to be out of here halfway through the year. And I said, oh, really? And they said, yes. They said, you just can't hang around here. You know, you got what you need. So I graduated from high school early.
Wow.
It was back in the days when there were no fast food establishments like Burger King or McDonald's or whatever. So the problem became, what do I do now?
Okay.
I was 17. I was graduated from high school. I couldn't work anywhere that was significant without being 18 years old. Back then, it seemed that you could go downtown. Someone told me, go downtown, dress nicely, go downtown and stand on this certain corner, and a truck will come by and they will get out of the car and pick people out and take them to factories to work. And so I did that.
You know, and I know people probably watching like, she's speaking like she's that old. You know, and I don't, I'm be the last one to say, well, tell somebody your age. But for the people out there, tell them how old you are.
Yes, I am 75 years old.
70. This young lady right here, wow. Whatever the fountain you found, please give it to me. Bottle for me, and as a matter of fact, I share a little bit with Earl. Earl can't get much of the bottle.
I attribute it to melanin. Melanin is powerful. That with melanin, our skin does not wrinkle as quickly. We are children of the sun. The sun loves us. Mm. And so when you see a African-American person or a melanated person, usually they are much older than you think they are. They are much older.
That is so true. I was at work one day and I seen a young lady. I swear she had to be the prettiest lady I ever seen. And I thought the gentleman with her was her husband. When she said, this is my grandson, I looked at her like, whoa. Good googly.
That is what happens. But at any rate, to continue the story.
You got to stop me.
Okay. To continue the story. So I went downtown and I stood on the corner, and sure enough, the truck came by, and you know how now we see the Hispanic Americans going to the Home Depots and they're sort of standing,
Yes.
waiting for work. Well, that's what it was like. And they selected me. I dressed nicely and they selected me. And they took us to a factory on Market Street downtown.
Okay.
And it was a place where they made the little containers of lemon juice that was shaped like a lemon.
Right, with the yellow
Yes.
thing. Yeah, absolutely.
And so the lemons would come down the assembly line. And the person in front of me would put the cap on the bottle. And when it got to me, I would put there was a little tube that I would put on there and it would screw it. And so all day long, I was standing there doing this. All day long. It was the most boring, um, boring, unexciting, time wasting thing I felt in the world. But it was the best thing that could have happened to me because standing there, I knew I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I must do something
Okay.
to advance myself. So I waited until I was 18 and I went down to the post office and took the test and I passed the test and I was hired at the post office. Back in those days, they had what they called short hours, where college students could work for 4 hours a day. So I went over to Wright Junior College. I'm on the west side. I went to Wright Junior College and enrolled as a freshman. And now I'm 18 years old. And I worked at the post office for 4 hours every night. I would go to Wright Junior College during the day, take my classes, night, post office. And I did that for 2 years. And eventually, I believe I got married. I got married somewhere along the way. And so I didn't want to go that far. So I went over to Crane Junior College, transferred to Crane Junior College.
Wow.
And at Crane Junior College, I received my associate's degree.
Associate's degree in
The associate's degree is general, is generalized.
Okay.
And so in the same building, which was Crane High School, that was housing the junior college, was Illinois, excuse me, Illinois Teachers College. And so I decided, well, I'm here and there's Illinois Teachers College, I'll go there. And so I graduated from Crane Junior College and I then began working on a bachelor's degree at Illinois Teachers College. I graduated and the moment I graduated, they changed the name. It was no longer Illinois Teachers College, it became Chicago Teachers College. And then a year later, they changed the name again to Chicago State University.
Wow. So, okay, it was, before it became Chicago State University, it was Chicago Teachers Union, but then before that, it was
Chicago Teachers College.
Chicago Teachers College.
And before that, it was Illinois Teachers College.
Illinois, then it became Chicago State.
So my degree says Illinois Teachers College, and if I need transcripts, I send to Chicago State University for them.
Wow.
Because of the name changes. So,
was this always an inspiration to be a teacher, or what was the effect of your parents on your decision to be a teacher or to get the degrees?
After having worked in the factory at 17, I knew I wanted to have a job that was a professional job. My mother was a domestic worker. She got on the bus every morning, went to the north side, and she cleaned homes for rich people. And I did not want to do that. And so actually working at the factory was sort of a step up from what she was doing, but I decided I didn't want to do that. I decided I want a job that is a professional job. And so I went to college and I have never regretted it. So after I had taught for a while, I decided to go back to school and I went out to Governor State University. Governor State at that time was a new school. They were innovative. It was a beautiful college setting, and it was ungraded. There was no grades. And I says, hey, I like that.
Ungraded. So it was basically do as you learn, or
Well, you would take a class, and if you satisfactorily completed the course requirements, you were given what was called a credit. And then when you received so many credits, then you were given a degree. And I liked that concept so much because so frequently students are controlled by the quest to get good grades. And whether they learn or not, whether some they cheat, whatever, let me just get a good grade. So when the burden of getting a good grade is removed, now all you need to do is learn.
okay.
And so that's what I saw as an opportunity. I wanted to become actually a university instructor, a professor. And so I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could, because if I'm sitting in front of a student, grown-ups, I can't fake it. I need to learn. And so being without the burden of grades, I jumped into learning, and I started reading as much as I could. I was very interested in African literature, and so I took a lot of classes in African literature, and I was very successful in that. It was a wonderful experience because Dr. Vince Sertimer, Dr. Vince Sertimer wrote a book called "They Came Before Columbus," and he had come over as a visiting professor, and I learned quite a bit about Africa, especially Egypt, and how Black people came to the Americas before Christopher Columbus. There's all kinds of evidence to prove that, and he has written a document that proves it without a doubt. And I was in his class, and I wrote a paper about that experience, and he liked the paper so much that he gave me extra credits. So instead of getting 3 credits for the class, he gave me 4 credits, and that was nice. But it didn't matter because, again, it was just getting the credits, and you got the credit, you get the degree. So I was at this time on leave from teaching. I needed a leave from teaching. I went down to the Board of Education and I said I'd like to take a leave and go to school. And they said, oh, we have frozen leaves, sabbaticals. No sabbaticals. You can maybe take a leave, but you can't take a sabbatical. In other words, you can not work. We will hold your place, but you will not get any pay. So I said, fine, I'll do that. Fortunately, I was married to a wonderful man, and he said no problem with that. So I took off from work, and I started at Governor State, and I got the degree in 8 months.
You got a degree in 8 months? People have got 8 months.
What 8 months?
What kind of degree?
This degree was Master's of Arts in English.
You got a Master in Arts in 8 months?
In literature.
Something that takes somebody 4 years, you got it 8 months?
Yeah, normally it takes 2 years for the masters. You know, the bachelors take 4 years, the masters usually take 2 years, I believe. But I was able to get it in 8 months, and I was very happy about that. And so
that's your second degree or your third one?
This was the third degree that I earned. And God has been so good to me. I just marvel at my own life, because when I went to Governor State University, I said, let me find some money. And so I started looking around for money, and I have learned that if you look for money, you will find it.
I'm looking. Matter of fact, I'm calling the police and the private detective to help me find some money.
The money is there, and I'm going to give you some hints later off air of how to acquire money. Okay.
All right. Oh,
They're
she got to definitely come back. She gonna give me some hints on how to acquire some money. You know, I don't know. We might have to
yes.
tell Earl to leave the room because Earl might,
Yes.
You what was your dad like? What was he like?
Um, very strict, very strict. Um, but one thing I would like, if I could continue about the.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I just wanted to
Okay.
give a
Okay.
but because
Okay.
we got
All
two.
right. Not my father. At Governor State, when I say God was good to me,
Come on.
I was looking for money. I went into the office. I saw a sign there saying free scholarships, fellowships for talent. And so I said, "Oh, that sounds good." So I said,
Okay.
I've been writing poems since I was in 7th grade. So I wrote out all my poems. I don't even think I typed them even. I wrote them all out and I put them in a book and I submitted it. And they gave me a full fellowship where I did not pay one penny for that master's degree.
Wow.
And it was called a talent. If you had a talent that was not related to scholarship, a scholar, it had to be something different aside from learning academically. So after 8 months, I got the degree and I decided, wow, that was fun. And that was fast. And of course, were I to go back to school then, which I had to do because the year was up, basically, I made more money because now I was on a different level with having this master's degree. So I said, well, I'm going to do it again. So I registered again, and this time I registered for African cultures, a degree in African cultures.
Okay.
And then I submitted to them again poetry for a scholarship. And they said, oh no. They said, you already submitted one for poetry. We can't give you another scholarship in poetry. I says, okay. So I wrote a book of short stories and I submitted that, and they gave me a second fellowship.
They said no, we can't give you another book for your great poetry. So let's word it different. Let's change it to short stories or do short stories. And they gave you a whole nother scholarship.
Yes, I had to write the story. So I wrote 10 short stories and
Wow.
compiled them into a book. And they gave me another scholarship. And so now I had the associates, I had the bachelor's, I had 2 masters. And then much later, I decided I wanted to go to the University of Chicago because they had a program there where teachers could come. It was for teachers. Basically, well, actually, it wasn't for teachers. It was for anyone, this particular degree. And so I was able to go to class one day a week. So I could still teach, go one day a week, and then get the degree. So I did that. It was, if I believe correctly, it was a 3-year program. So I did that, and so then I received the master's degree from the University of Chicago in the humanities.
Wow.
So I enjoy learning, and so it has been wonderful, and God has been good to me. And there's money available. There's money that goes wasted because no one applies for it. And for what you are doing, you could definitely get money from the National Endowment of the Humanities, national money, big money.
Okay, I'm definitely with you. We're gonna definitely talk out of here.
Okay.
Definitely. Um, can we get a piece? We can get right back in the story.
Sure.
Let's get a piece. We're gonna get one of her great pieces. You whatever piece you want to do, and then we're gonna get back into a little bit more.
All right. So are we doing? Is it okay to do some of what I did before?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I will do 1933.
1933. Okay.
I was hanging from a tree. It was 1933. They were lynching me. Lost all hope. I was dying from the choke. Then the rope broke. My body fell to precious ground. The lynchers gathered all around. I could feel my heart pound. I was shocked I was not dead. I was morbidly afraid. Oh, damn, the leader said. He was mad I was still alive. My eyes roamed. I counted their tribe. There were 5. What's a white man supposed to do? Let a nigga just walk on through? Nigga, this sundown town wasn't built for you. Hell, here 5 grown white men stand without knife or gun in hand. Ain't that something grand? Well, another lyncher said, on the head with a rock or brick or lead. We ain't got no lead or brick. Anyway, that's way too quick. Plus the nigga's head is thick. We're gonna ride back into town before the sun goes completely down. This was said with a vicious frown. Gonna tell the folks to gather round. Come out and see what we done found. I could still hear my heart pound. Tell the folks to come out, bring the kids, bring that picture-taking man, Mark True. We've got to set the proper mood. After tying me to a tree, 4 rode off in festive glee, leaving just one to now guard me. The one left just stared at me. Then he took a knife from his pocket and walked toward me. Would he kill me? I closed my eyes, silently prayed to God. When I no longer on this earth trod, God, I will come to thee. The man walked past me to behind the tree, and then he proceeded to untie me. Dear God, I thought, how can this be? He said, boy, I done set you free. So don't you up now and try to kill me. If you want to live, just run, see? One thing I want you to understand, I never have or never will kill a man. I leave that mess in God's hands. Then he told me which way to go. He said, you'll come to a river, jump in, take its flow. When you get to the bend, then you will know. By then it will be night. Keep the North Star in your sight. The moss on trees will guide you right. I began to run beneath the darkening sky. I wanted so desperately to not die. I wanted to live. I had no choice but to try. I came to the river filled with alligators, a poisonous snake, but this was the river I had to take. I jumped right in, sealing my fate. The waters helped carry me, and with every stroke, I felt closer to free. At the bend, I looked up. The North Star I could see. I ran, swam, and crawled in my quest to be free. And all of this happened in 33 when God stopped savages from lynching me.
Wow. That is a powerful, whoa. That is a tremendously powerful piece. You're very educated and you've seen a lot in your life.
Yes, I have.
How has the things you've seen growing up, especially in a somewhat, I'm sure, racist society or things that we deal with, even today's racism, how did that shape your literary view on how you write and how you put together your pieces?
Well, I think what is happening with me is that I have an intense love of my people, intense love. And I have a sadness, melancholy about the injustice that we have suffered in this country. Unjustified atrocities against us. And so this is what informs me when I write. I write about the kinds of atrocities that have been put upon us as a people unjustly. And I'm very disturbed about it. For instance, yesterday, I was listening to the news and I saw in the news that the Chicago fraternity of police,
Yes.
of the police fraternity, I suppose it's the police union, wants to pass a law that says that if a policeman sees a killing of an individual and makes a false report, he will have an opportunity after he sees the video to change his story.
Wow.
This is what Chicago wants to do.
So he sees a killing, or he says something that's not true.
Yes.
And then because he is a police officer, he want to be able to review and then recant his statement.
Exactly. Now,
Wow.
if this is not unjust, nothing is. It seems that citizens are under the control of the Miranda Act, where you are responsible for what you say.
Right.
So why is it that policemen are not responsible for what they say? How can they say, I saw this kid, Laquan McDonald, running towards the police officer, that's why he had to shoot him. And then when he sees the video that shows something totally different, he is allowed to now say, well, that's not what I saw. Why is that just? That is, to me, an issue that should go to the Supreme Court, because it's unjust. And so it's that kind of blatant racism and injustice that informs me and makes me write how I write.
Have you ever experienced in your lifetime with your personal family, friends, or even husband, outright display of racism towards you?
I experienced racism, yes, periodically through my life. I see quite a bit of it with my people. Personally, I have not experienced that much that is overt, but there's other kinds of racism that is not open. For instance, what's going on in my community now. I live in an area called Calumet Heights. When my husband and I moved there, it was as beautiful as a place could be. Well, now what is happening is the city, as far as I'm concerned, this is my opinion, that the city wants to move Blacks out of the city. And so they have gone about allowing the area to become run down. The streets are raggedy. The lampposts are rusted. The fire hydrants, the curbs are broken. All of those things. The only reason the area where I live is still presentable and still nice is because the people keep their property up. But it seems to me that this city takes money, the taxes from Black people on the west side and on the south side, and they use it to beautify the north side and the loop. This is my opinion. When you go to the north side, you would think that you're in a different city. You would think that you're not in Chicago anymore.
You know, I agree with that, because we've seen that blatantly what you're saying with the Robert Taylor homes, with Cabrini Green. Look at all the blood that was shed by our people in those projects, and look how it is now. When you go over to Halston and Division, it looks nothing like it used to be. They have everything over there.
Yes.
When you see things like that, how does it make you feel?
It makes me angry, because it seems that we as a people are unable to counter it, to do anything about it. I don't understand. They will say to me, and I go to meetings, I go to town hall meetings, I go to the meetings that the alderman calls, and they'll say, oh, this money is this kind of money, and it can't be used for that. But still, I and all of my neighbors and all the people in the community are paying taxes. And as far as I'm concerned, it is taxation without representation.
Wow.
That's exactly what it is. So then that becomes another kind of racism that affects us, but it's not someone beating you over the head. The only, I can remember instances in school when I went out to Wright Junior College, and it was a predominantly white school out there. I felt I was discriminated against by some of the professors who refused to give you the grade you deserve. So that was racism. When I graduated from Illinois Teachers College, you had to take a test to be a teacher. You had to take 2 tests. One was written and one was oral. The oral test primarily was to weed out crazy.
Right.
All right. So you can be intelligent and pass a test, but you could be just crazy. So I took the test after I graduated, and I graduated from college, Illinois Teachers College, with honors. I took the test. I got a high score, very high score, in the 90s, high 90s. It wasn't 100, but it was in high 90s. And then I went to take the oral test, and I failed it. So
you got a high 90 on the written test, but
yes.
Then you failed the oral test according to them.
Yes. 78 was 80 was passing, and they gave me a 78. So what that meant was now I could not become a certified teacher because I didn't pass the test. I could. They had what they would call substitute teachers. I could become like a substitute teacher. Not a substitute. I've even forgotten the term now. It's been so long ago. But it was a teacher who came in. I had all of the duties, all of the responsibilities of a certified teacher, but you had no benefits. And this is what was done to Black teachers back in the 60s. You were hired, but you were not passed on the test. So this is how they kept you from being certified. They would fail you on the oral test. If you passed the written test, fail you on the oral. So here you are in Chicago, and if you fail that test, now where are you going to go? Where are you going to go and teach? You need to stay here in the city and teach. But the rule was, since you did not pass the oral test, you have no benefits. And so that's what happened with me. I had no benefits. And I was angry about it. I was extremely angry. I went down to the board. I said, could you please tell me what it is that I did not do correctly so that I can improve and pass the oral test? And they said, oh, no, we don't discuss that. So that meant you're stuck.
Right.
You can only now teach without benefits. And when I say without benefits, if you had maternity leave, you were not paid. You could not get a sabbatical. The years you taught did not count towards your retirement. You were just teaching, and you'd get a paycheck. That's all.
Okay. Now, when you say that, it makes me think, because the other day I watched a movie that Oprah Winfrey produced about the lady, I think her name was Helena, where in 1955, they, without her permission, cut a piece of her ovary out and discovered that her ovaries, the cells can live outside the body. And they reproduced it to fund all type of research from polio, from AIDS to syphilis, to everything off this one strand that was still alive. And they did a book about it, but the family has never got anything from the government ever from her cells, which is still alive and still been tested on today. So when you say that, it makes me think of that, because it's a shame how we've been robbed. Let me ask you an even deeper question.
Could I speak on that issue?
Go ahead.
Her name is Henrietta Lacks.
Yes.
And her cells are called HeLa cells.
Yes.
Because they take the first 2 letters, the first name, first 2 letters of the last name. And it was her cells, in fact, that cured polio.
Yes.
Yes, and it has since cured many, many diseases in this country. And pharmaceuticals have gotten rich using her cells, yes. And her family still is struggling in poverty. Here's something that some people do not know.
Go ahead.
Since they cultured her cells, every spaceship that has gone into space has been sprayed with her cells.
Wow.
And the reason is because of the melanin. What is powerful about her cells is the melanin. And I can't express enough to Black people that our Blackness is very important.
Say that again.
Our blackness
come on, say
is
that.
very important and very, very valuable. We have melanin. We have human melanin. And human melanin is the most expensive substance you can buy on the internet. It is more expensive than silver, gold, platinum, diamonds, or anything else. It is 300 times more valuable than gold. Human melanin. And the only place you can get human melanin is from people of African descent.
Wow.
The problem, of course, is that the only way you can get our melanin is for us to be dead, because it has to be harvested out of our bodies. So when you think of all the black men or women who die in prisons, do you think they don't use the melanin, take the melanin? They take the fetuses of black babies that are abortions and use that to make solar cells, I am told. This is what I am told. Melanin is very powerful. We black people are people of the sun. That is why in my poem I say we can make love lying on the line of the equator and it does not hurt us. Melanin, blackness is very, very important and valuable, but we live in a society that is a white supremacist, so-called white supremacist society, and we have been taught that whiteness is important. The truth of the matter is blackness is important.
So let me hit you with it. So you said is so much valuable, our melanin. Is that why our communities are targeted with so many of our young or our black people dying? Because they're trying to harness or they're trying to reproduce that?
I will say this. If you Google organ harvesting.
There you go. That's
Okay.
That's gonna be my next question.
Organ
Go
harvesting.
with it.
You will find that there are some strange occurrences that have taken place in the black community. For instance, when they had the flood in New Orleans, Katrina.
Yes.
It was something like they said 5,000 black men disappeared, just gone. They never found them. They never found them. So where are they, and what happened to them? We put one of the poets. I was reading her poem yesterday, and she said the prisons are packed like slave ships, and I thought that this perfect imagery. And many of those people in prisons die. Now, who's there to protect your organs? Not only that, who's there to protect our organs? When one of our loved ones die and we go to the funeral, it always seems to me they look like they're empty inside. They look too flat. That's what it looks like to me. And I never thought about it until I started focusing on this melanin and organ harvesting. They have found black bodies, not African Americans, but black bodies from different countries all over the world, cut open, organs gone. So it's a real thing that I speak of.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. That is you have, I've had a lot of guests on my show, but you have put such great it made me think in such a great way. Normally I'm a very, and I'm one of the people that really interview people. I'm really questions. I'm on them. I'm in them. I want to talk to them. But you got me like, whoa. And it's funny you say that, because I was reading a story about a lady who said that her son was killed for his organs, and got a court order to have him exhumed. And when he was exhumed, he was completely empty inside. And she said that if you was to exhume most of the black people that were killed, that you would see that their bodies was empty, completely empty of their organs.
Yes.
And it was said that a lot of those bodies that the funeral homes get, that they're empty when the funeral homes get them from the hospital.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is, oh, that
This
is,
is they took Henrietta Lacks organs, cells. It is my opinion that they take our cells, uh, especially when you go into the hospital. Uh, no one is going to be at the funeral of their mother or loved one and say, well, I want you to open her up and see if the organs are there. No one's going to say that. So that means we will never know.
wow. Can we, wow, that's so deep.
Mhm.
Can we have another piece?
Yes, we can.
And then we'll get into your book.
Okay. Um, I would like to do only one thing because it speaks of the atrocities committed against our people.
Okay.
I think about slavery, a time that used to be. I think of my people, and so clearly I see. We were brought to this country to be the animals of whites with no thoughts of humanity, with no human rights. Of all the atrocities in history, of things done to us, only one thing was done to animals that was not done to us. We were bought just like cattle. We were sold just like swine. We were branded with fire from pure white hot iron. We were bred just like horses. We were raped by slave masters, and the children we bore were by the owners called bastards. Of all the atrocities in history, of things done to us, only one thing was done to animals that was not done to us. We were hanged from the trees, whipped till black backs ran red, while our children watched forcefully so they too would be afraid. We slaved sun up to sundown and of short mutilations to control sexual desire, black men knew castrations. Of all the atrocities in history, of things done to us, only one thing was done to animals that was not done to us. Only one thing was done to animals that was not done to us. We thank a mightiful God Almighty that they didn't eat us.
Wow. Wow. That is such a tremendously powerful piece. We're going to get you, but let me ask you one question. After all the things that has been done to us as black people, especially black men, and when you see our black men walk around here with their pants down, gang banging, tough guys, what do you think about that?
I think they're lost. I there's a piece I do where it's a fictional piece, but I reenact Harriet Tubman, and she speaks on that matter. And I can maybe do a few bars from it, but I won't start from the beginning. But Harriet Tubman has in this
Well,
piece.
You could do the whole piece. We
Well,
got
the reason
2
I don't
hours.
want to do it is because I'm going to be featured in a event,
Right. You don't want.
and I will be doing the entire piece for the first time
Okay, absolutely.
on Saturday, and I hope you would come to it. It's out in Dalton, Illinois.
I
And
work on Saturday, but I'll try to come.
Okay. Well, just wanted to invite you just in case you could come. And in this piece, Harriet Tubman has come back to Earth. She's died and she has come back to Earth, and she's talking to Black people, and she's telling them what kind of struggles she went through. And she has a point where she said, another thing I want to say before I be through, because I don't know if God's going to let me. She said, no, let me say this. She has been allowed by God to come back for one day. Okay. So she says, another thing I want to say, and I'm speaking in dialect. Another thing I want to say before I be through, and this is to all you lost souls out there. What's wrong with you? Now, I know from history, some oppressed people like to imitate their oppressors, like to do like they do. So now some of y'all out there shooting and killing us too. What's wrong with you? You're pitiful. You lost yourself. You lost in them woods, can't find your way through. When I look down and I see you, I be ashamed of you. But I still pray for you.
Wow, wow, man, that is so true. When you think about that, that is so. You think about that, the things that's being done to us by our people is imitating the people who've done that to us.
Yes.
The seed that's planted.
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly.
That is so powerful. So when you see now, and here's the thing that I have experienced in my professional life, and I want you to talk about it, and in life period, is the Judases, the ones, somebody said something to me one day, and I said to them, um, they said to me that you should be more like me. And I told them, my response to them was like, no, I don't want to be like you. I'll stay in the field. I can keep my integrity that way.
Okay.
so,
All right.
so I insulted them in a way, but I was very candid about it. So my question is, how does it make you feel when you have people in our community that sell us out?
It's a very hurting kind of a thing. It hurts because all you can think is they're lost. They're lost. Somewhere along the way, they're lost mentally. A good example that I like to speak of is how we have a mayor in Chicago who closed 50 schools primarily in Black areas. He refused to meet with the Black Congressional Congress, and he refused to fund money for clean water in Africa. He is doing whatever he can to do to not help Black people. And when they opened a new grocery store, what was it, on Halsted and
Whole
Inglewood,
Foods.
Whole Foods.
Yes.
My friend went and she called me and she said, guess what? I said, what? She said, would you believe me when I tell you that these Black people are lining up to shake hands with Rahm Emanuel?
Wow.
And I said, you're kidding. They're lining up to shake his hand after having closed 50 schools in our area. And then 1 month later, spent, I believe, $12 million to enhance a school in a white area because he felt that he said smart kids need nice places to go. So to me, when you talk about Judases, when you talk about people who have are selling us out, all I can think is that somehow they have lost their way. We're like sheep. They've lost their way. They're lost in the woods and they can't find their way out.
Wow.
That's all I can think. And how do we cure that? I do not know. One thing I think, and this is why I try to write positive things about Black people, is that we've got to start loving ourselves.
Yes, yes.
And part of the problem is that we have been taught to not like ourselves. Everything about us, Malcolm X said it. So he said, you've been taught to hate your lips. You've been taught to hate the color of your skin. You've been taught to hate the shape of your nose and the hair you have and the body shape you have. All of the things that make you a Black person, you have been taught, you have been trained to hate that. And so this is how you behave. You do to each other what has been done to us as a people. For instance, one of my pet peeves is when I see parents with small children and they're cursing the children.
Yes.
They're cursing the
Wow.
children. It hurts my heart when I see that. And I have to bite my tongue to keep from saying anything. And sometimes I have said things. And I have said, you shouldn't talk to your child that way. And one lady told me, this is my child. I'll talk to her any way I want to talk to her. And you need to mind your own business. And I said, well, you know what? I said, if your child was out in public and you weren't there and someone was talking to your child the way you're talking to him, would you want me to say something?
What was her response?
It was, I can't say on radio what her response was, but the point wasn't taken well. And I do have a poem now. I haven't memorized all of my poems because, as I told you, These are just the poems that I've written in the last 2 years.
People of God, look at all these. This is all you've written in 3 years?
Yeah.
All these?
The last 2 years. These are from the last 2 years.
How often do you write a day?
Sometimes I might write a poem a day, and then sometimes I might write 2 poems a week, whatever.
Are you going to get these? Are you going to get these published?
Yes. This one is called, and I call it just indictment, just to copyright it. So I copyrighted it, and I have the papers here where I send in for copyright, and it costs $85 to copyright a collection, and I called it indictment because, as far as I'm concerned, this country is guilty. So I call it indictment, a collection of poetry. Okay. And and so this became Indictment Volume 2. I took poems from both of these and I put them into this, and this is going to be the book that I will publish this year. It will be called The Way We Be.
Wow.
The Way We Be. And so,
where did you come up with the name and Where We Be, and what's the history behind that?
I came up with that name is because Black people talk differently. We talk differently, and you can call it Black English, whatever you want to call
Ebonics.
it. Ebonics, but we talk differently, and our speaking differently is based quite on many. There's a confluence of factors that will contribute to why we speak the way we speak. One of which is the segregation, because we have been segregated, and so we speak to each other that way. Our poverty is not spread out like white people's. For instance, right after World War II, the governments tried to decide what are they going to do with the urban poor, because the war had drained the country of money, and there were many poor people in cities. So they decided, what are we going to do? So what they decided to do was, we're going, for the urban poor Blacks, we're going to build projects. And that's when they built the
Robert Taylor
Homes to accommodate the urban poor Blacks. And we all know that the projects were buildings, floor after floor after floor, people stacked, just like on a slave ship. Okay.
Wow, that is, whoa.
But
the project is built like the slave ship.
Yes.
Stacked those, man.
People stacked right on top of each other.
Wow.
Poor whites, they built homes outlying with little fences around them, and they call them the suburbs. And this is how the suburbs was created. And they sold the homes to the whites inexpensively. Some of those homes were maybe like $2,000, $3,000. And so what happened was, because they were spread out.
The white people's suburbs, the white people projects was called the suburbs.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. That's good. Whoa.
This is what happened. And so the poverty in Black areas was concentrated. So you're poor, the person above you poor, the person below you is poor. And so you have poverty, and you have all of the kinds of conditions that come with poverty. And part of that is language. And so our language became concentrated in our poverty. White people, their residences were not concentrated. They were spread out. And so, and even mixed into areas that were not poor at all. And so they developed more standardized English. I wrote a poem. We were talking about, if you don't mind me
go ahead.
reading some.
Yes, please.
Okay. You asked me about why do I call it The Way We Be?
Yes.
Because Black people take the verb be, and we use it We do not conjugate it. We do not conjugate the verb be. The conjugation of the verb be is I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. But we will say I am. We will say I be eating my food, you be eating your food. We will say that.
Right.
Okay? They be eating. They be fighting over there. So we will not conjugate the verb to be. We will just use be. Okay?
Okay.
And so I wrote this poem and it's called We Be.
Okay.
I be, you be, he, she, it be. How understandable. But teachers say, I can't be. I have to am. You have to are. And he is, and she, we, like you, have to are. And they, of course, being plural, are too. But teachers don't understand that all the time, me, my mama, pa, all of us, we be.
That's good. I love it. That is good. That is good.
So that's why I call it the way we be.
That is good.
That is us as Black people.
You okay?
All right. So I would like to read.
Sure.
We had talked about the way parents talk to their children,
Okay.
and I wrote a poem about that.
Yeah, it blows me away how they use the words, and it's just oh my goodness.
Yes.
Gets their kids. I can't wait to
Yes,
hear it. I'm
okay.
excited.
Okay.
Wow, look at all them hearts up there. They love the people.
28.
What's up, Miss Dominique Lewis? I'm glad you watching. She bad, ain't she? I told you. Amazing.
It's called Slavery Ways.
Slavery Ways.
And I've got, here it is.
All right. I can't wait to hear.
Some of us still have slavery ways in these non-slavery days. And unfortunately, it does not appear to be simply a phase. It's more like a craze. In slavery, the master would have two helpless slaves fight each other for his whim, fight each other for his pleasure. And the slave that was most vicious, most savage, set the measure of who won the fight, of who would live. Because the master held the power legally of which life he'd take or give. Since both were his lives to take or give, he could kill. Today on TV, we see the same old skit. Two sisters physically fighting each other because they get paid a little bit. And it's not like they're earning millions like the men who fight in rings. They're fighting each other mainly for the fame they think it brings. It's simply slavery ways in non-slavery days. In slavery, masters made slaves curse and insult their children all the time. The purpose was to make the children feel like slime, to make them realize they were more worthless than swine. The master found a way to make a slave boy finally say his name was Toby instead of Kunte Kinte. Because the master understood the power of words, you see, how they could break a human down, take away their dignity. Today we hear Black folk people calling their children all kinds of filth and trash, not realizing the effect of verbal abuse will end their child forever last. They call their children names they don't even call their dogs. Black people walking around this earth, their minds in slavery fogs. Another example of slavery ways and slavery days. In slavery, the master would have one slave kill another slave, knowing their lives were legally his. He took or he gave. He'd simply say to one, go kill that other stinking nigger. And the other would just not hesitate to pull the master's rifle's trigger. Today, Black men are still killing their own Black brothers, and they do it simply to impress some other Black others. Some do it because they say they're doing it for their gain. Have Black people collectively gone utterly insane? Is this a genetic flaw, a genocidal craze, or simply slavery ways in non-slavery days?
Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. That
Is
is,
that not true?
yes, it is. Same ways. They're walking around here gang bang with their pants down. Your friend, um, I know you. What's his name? Hood Rays
Yes.
spoke about savage, savage streets and savage living like a savage, and so that is powerful. That is super powerful. You have wow, look at the hearts coming up. You have kids?
Yes, I do. I have three daughters, Robin, Dion, and Sherry. Um, Dion is the Sherry is my youngest child, and she graduated from Western Illinois University, and she is a probation officer. She
Okay.
lives in University Park, but she works in Chicago. She works in Inglewood, in fact, and it does sort of hurt me that she walks around with a Glock and a, and a vest. Uh, After I clawed my way to get out of the ghetto, and get away from that environment, but that's where she is. But she's not there doing anything negative. But I fear for her sometimes being in that environment. My middle daughter, Dion, got her degree from um, University of Southern Illinois, and her degree was in theater, and she is a drama instructor for the Park District. So
Okay.
she works for the city. Sherry works for the state. She works for the city, and she teaches drama to adults and children. She produces plays. She produced the first play that I wrote at Theater on the Lake. And my oldest daughter, Robin, got her degree from the University of Illinois in Champaign, and then she got her law degree from Loyola School of Law here in Chicago, and she is an attorney. She's a higher education attorney. So they're good girls, and they all have their own car, their own job. So I'm happy.
And now, yeah, are you still married? Your
My
husband is still?
husband is deceased.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to
Mhm,
hear that.
mhm,
So, growing up, um, I can safely say the fire that they have,
mhm.
or the love for education came from you and your influence.
They had no choice. They had no choice. Okay.
I love it.
um, they had to be educated. They had to be educated. And my husband and I said from the moment they were born, when you go to college. We never said if you go to college. When you go to college. And so we worked for that all of our lives and made sure that each one of them did go to college. We said as an incentive, when you graduate from college, your college graduation gift will be an automobile. And so that was an incentive too. So I don't know if whether the love of education was there, but they had no choice. This is what they had to do. They had to go to school and become educated so that they could sustain themselves.
Now, you were a teacher for how many years?
I taught for 34 years.
34 years.
Yes.
What subject did you teach?
I taught English, and it varied. When I went to Cook Elementary School, I started off being a fourth grade teacher, and then I was a fifth grade teacher, and then I was a seventh grade teacher. Then I became the art teacher. I was teaching art departmentally, and then the principal asked if I would be the English teacher. I didn't feel I had any more experience than any other teacher, but what is wonderful about teaching is that you learn on the job. So whatever it is I did not know, when you open a book and you teach it to the child, you're learning it yourself.
And now here's the thing that's the amazing part, because it stuck with me last week. You retired. You've raised three amazing, successful daughters. You're very cultured. You've touched so many lives, and you've been writing poetry. And then you said some years ago you got into spoken word to
Yes.
reinvent yourself. Tell us about that day when you said, okay, I mean, I know you told us it's the first time you did it. You know, tell us why.
Well, I believe that I personally, and to be very honest, I think that I like attention.
You got mad.
And so when you do poetry, you really get attention. I believe that in many occupations, even with teaching, here you are in front of this captured audience, and you're on the stage, and you're in control. And so that's what teachers do. And once you do that for 34 years, you don't want to let that go. You still want to be on a stage with some people out there listening to you. So that's one analogy I see. The other is that because I write in various genres, um, I decided once I retired what genre will reach the general public fastest. And I decided poetry would, because people will listen to a poem before they will pick up a book and read a book or a history book. Whatever it is that you're trying to say, whatever argument it is you're trying to make, they will listen to a poem faster. And it might even hit home better because it's condensed language, and they can expand on it. So
So,
basically, that's what happened.
so where do you want to go from here? What do you want to accomplish now?
Well, as I said, next month my novel will be coming out. It's called My Cousin Juju, and I want. Uh, when my editor, I hired an editor that I did not know, and she called me and she said, she said I was reading this novel. She said my husband said to me, "Are you crying?" And she said, I told him, yes, I'm crying. She said, this woman has written a bestseller. And she said, this is the best book I've read. She said, and she went on and on about it. I said, all I hope is that Oprah Winfrey will say the same thing when she reads it. Okay.
He can. See, he's some kin Oprah.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta be nice, but put in a good word. Oprah, if you listening, bestseller.
It would be a bestseller. I want it to be a movie. And what I love the story. She said she loves the story. She said, I didn't want it to end. She said, I just love this story so much. But and I'd like, if I could talk for a minute
Go
about the
ahead, go
book.
ahead.
I went to the Oriental Museum on the campus of the University of Chicago. I just wandered in there one day just to look around.
Okay.
And so the name outside is the Oriental Museum, the University of Chicago. And when I walked around, I walked to the back and I saw a huge statue, wooden. It looked wooden, but I'm not sure it was wooden, but it looks like wood. Huge, taller than this ceiling, and it was of King Tut.
Okay.
And actually, it made me angry. It made me angry because King Tut was born in Egypt. And the name of this museum was the Oriental Museum. So I was thinking, why is King Tut in an Oriental Museum? And the reason he's in there is because white society or white supremacy theory would not allow whites to believe that King Tut is black. So they put King Tut in the Oriental Museum, okay, instead of a museum about African people. So all I could think was, here we are in this city, this prestigious place where we are, and black people almost cannot come in here, children anyway, and the people who live, in the surrounding areas, they know nothing about it. But what do they have in there? An artifact that shows the superiority of black people, indisputably, that black people were kings and queens, but that's hidden from black people. So I say, I've got to write a story to illustrate this. So I wrote a story, and the main character of the story is a 4-year-old black female.
Okay.
And And to me, that was intriguing because a 4-year-old does not have, the language is not yet developed. So I had to write a story where you had a child who didn't know a lot of words. She mispronounced words. Um, it's just an interesting book to me. It was just interesting writing it. And she confuses reality with other forms of realities, dreams. She they all merge with her. And what she's taught, it all merges with her reality. And so I wrote this story, and half the time when you start reading it, you don't know what she's talking about. You just don't know what she's talking about. But after you keep reading, you find out exactly what it is she's talking about. And they're on a trip. She, her cousin Juju, and her brother and a friend are on a little trip that day in Chicago. And that's where they're going to the Oriental Museum because the friend had gone in there and saw it. And the statue of King Tut looks exactly like Juju.
Wow.
And that's why I wrote it, because when I stood there looking at that statue, I said, he looks exactly like my nephew. Exactly. I said, this, anybody looking at this can see this is a black man, you know. And so that's how the story developed. And I'm very excited about it. And hopefully it will be coming out next month.
Now let me ask you a question. Who inspired you growing up? I mean, who are some of your heroes, or who are some of the people that had the greatest influence on your success and the things that you're doing in life?
Um, I would say some of the writers. I I like Toni Morrison.
Okay, yeah.
I like Terry McMillan, um, Alice Walker, and I like books that all the books I like aren't necessarily black books. I loved Hemingway's work. I liked the Old Man and the Sea. Um, I liked the Pearl. You know, I liked the Good Earth by Pearl Buck.
Okay.
So I liked to read when I was a child. I liked to read, and when I got to high school and we had to earn credits, I immediately went to the library and volunteered to work in the library. And my goal was to read every book in the library. That's how unsophisticated I was. I said, I'm going to read every book in this library before I graduate. So I started in the A's, and I take a book out and I read it. And so just writers. I love what writers do.
Okay. I Can we hear another piece?
Sure, sure, absolutely.
And I know you got some more pieces. What a piece, amazing piece. This has really been such a blessed show. And again, I thank you so much for coming. I'm just mad because the show is going so fast. Look, it's already been an hour and a half already.
Really?
Look.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, wow.
I'm just getting started.
That's good.
Okay. I came up with a different with a different genre.
Okay.
And the reason I came up with a different genre that I call myself inventing is because I was going to enter a piece in a competition, and they said, is it prose or is it poetry? And I started reading it, and I couldn't determine. I said, it's not prose and it's not poetry. So I came up with the term prosody. Prosody, where it's not really poetry, but it's not prose either.
Okay.
And so I start writing some pieces in prosody. Okay. So
okay, I can't wait to hear.
Okay, but I have memorized them.
Okay.
This one is called Watermelon.
Watermelon.
Yes.
Can't wait to hear.
Citrullus lanatus. Citrullus lanatus var lanatus is a scientific classification for a large fruit that actually is a kind of modified berry called a peepo. The common name for this berry is watermelon. Watermelon, like human life, originated in Africa, where it can be found growing wild and is as old as time. There is evidence that it was cultivated in the Nile Valley before Jesus Christ walked the earth. Watermelon seeds were found in the tomb of King Tut. Ancient Egyptians, it appeared, loved watermelon. Watermelon spread out from Africa. By the 7th century, watermelons were being cultivated in India, and by the 10th century had reached China. The Moors had invaded and introduced it to Italy and Spain by 1100, and it spread rapidly throughout the continent of Europe. Its seeds were transported from Africa across the sea by captured Africans on their way to America to become slaves. In America, watermelons greatly sustained the underfed and undernourished slaves, just as in biblical days it sustained the ancient Israelites while they were in bondage in Egypt. The American South, with its hot and steamy atmosphere, provided ideal and similar conditions in which watermelons could grow and thrive. And so they grew and thrived. For many slaves, they represented life. Slaves would carry several watermelons with them to the fields each dawn and drop them into the cool spring waters of a nearby brook. By the time noontime arrived, the flesh of the fruit, now cold, would be juicy and sweet and would be shared by all the field slaves, adults and children, as they sat in the merciful shade of magnolia trees, laughing and talking softly despite their wretched conditions. The scene would appear nostalgic, romantic even, were it not for the swollen whelps on the backs and arms of the slaves, the bleeding hands and bare feet from pricks of cotton ball needles, the dullness of hope forever gone in the eyes that had never seen freedom. The coolness of the flesh of the fruit from Africa cooled the sun-beaten and sweat-drenched bodies of the slaves. For the master, slave master, it was an inexpensive method by which to feed his slaves. For the slaves, watermelons were a respite, their heaven from daily hell. Watermelons, comprised of 91% H2O and 6% sugar, prevented the slaves from becoming dehydrated. Its flesh staved off malnutrition. Watermelon, with its glorious history, was a good thing to bring to the Americas. After all, the sand people of the Kalahari Desert had been known to survive on an exclusive Sama watermelon diet for 6 weeks. This unique fruit providing both food and water. It is only through the grace of God that of all things to bring to America, Africans brought watermelon. Today, others sometimes laugh at the association of that life-providing berry in African Americans, having no knowledge of where it came from, who brought it to the Americas, and how it has sustained us historically. Some think they are humorously stereotyping us when they relate our affinity to this fruit. The irony, of course, is that it is not a stereotype. We seriously love watermelon. They and we do not realize why hundreds of years later, we still love watermelon. Yes, we still love watermelon. Our culture, our history, our very origin are intricately entwined in the strong and binding vines of this glorious berry. We unashamedly and unapologetically love watermelon. And that is not only the way we are, but more importantly, the way we be.
I love it. Because, it is a stereotype. Black folk love chicken and watermelon. Wow, I would have never known. Whoa. I'm sure the people out there right now that know the history of our people and watermelon.
We brought it from Africa.
We bought it from Africa.
That's why we love it.
And there was people in the desert that survived. They could survive 6 weeks off of watermelon with just only water, because it's 4%
Water.
water.
Yes.
Wow. Whoa, that is.
So that was a prosody. So it wasn't poetry and it wasn't prose. It was a mingling of prose and poetry.
I'm drooling for another one.
Another prosody?
Yeah, I want another poetry. Get poetry. I want,
Okay.
wow. I never knew that about watermelon. I never knew that.
Oh, really?
Yes, I love watermelon.
I love watermelon. That's my favorite fruit. I can eat watermelon all day in the summer.
Wow, man.
I have an aunt. I had an aunt. She's passed now, but she used to buy like 10 watermelons every day.
10 watermelons every day?
Yeah, she had about 10 kids, so she had 10, 12, 13 children. And she'd go off for work and she'd buy. The watermelon man would come every day. He'd line them up on the porch. And that's what we would eat, during the day. And she'd come home and she'd cook a big, nice, nourishing meal. But the watermelon, I love watermelon.
And it'll fill you up too.
It will. It will. And it's good.
Yes. Wow, I'm never gonna look at a watermelon the same now.
That's our fruit. That's why we love it. I wrote a prosody about Obama. And I wrote this prosody because someone on the internet wrote I don't see it right now, so may I come back to it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, can I read the poem called Enough?
Enough,
Enough.
I know enough. Come on. I can't get enough.
Okay. This is called Enough. Maybe they're angry because we're no longer their slaves. Maybe 400 years were not long enough. The back whippings were not severe enough. The rapings not intense enough. Maybe the laws that said we could not learn to read or write did not make us ignorant enough. Maybe we didn't cry hard enough when our children were sold away from us. Maybe with the lynchings, the ropes were not short enough or the fire hot enough. Maybe the hooded sheets were not long enough or their hooded horses not strong enough to drag us far enough. When they burned our churches down, maybe we didn't stop praying to God enough. Maybe their experiments on us did not impede our cognitive functioning enough. When our schools were for centuries separated and unequal as they are now, maybe we learned to read too well, to count too much, to think coherently too frequently. It must not be enough that their income is greater than ours, because same work does not always equal same pay, or that we are arrested more, convicted more, imprisoned more, or for committing the same crime. When we tried so hard to vote in the 60s and they bombed our homes and churches, maybe the explosions were not loud enough or our fear great enough. When they turned attack dogs on us or aimed fire hoses at us, maybe we didn't slide down city streets smoothly enough. Maybe today there are not Black ghettos enough to contain all of us. Maybe during the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the two World Wars, Vietnam, the Korean War, Iraq, Afghanistan, not enough of us died. Maybe we just don't realize that police have not yet killed enough of us as we try to run away unarmed. But that one day they might say, well, that's enough. And the killings will end. Or maybe they're just mad at us about something else.
Wow, that's deep. Woo. Let me ask you a question, and I know you can answer this question. Because my listeners are a variety of people. What if somebody listening said, "That's just an angry Black woman"? How would you respond to that?
I would respond to that in this manner. How dare you? How dare you say that? If you want to see what anger is, why don't you look at what Caucasians have done, not just to us, but what they have done to the people in this country. They came here and they deliberately killed thousands of Indians to take the land. And then after they took the land from them and killed them, starved them, killed the buffalo so they could not live. Then they got us from Africa and brought us over here to be their slaves. That is, you look at them and you call them the angry person. They are the ones who are savages, the ones who did those things. But for me to speak on it, you say I'm angry because I speak of what was done to us. There's a Jewish religious person, ancient, who said, his name is Heller the Great. He said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I'm only for myself, then what am I? And if not now, when? And so this famous quotation from him was quoted by Dr. King. So many people think it was Dr. King who said, if not now, when? If not you, who? But it was Hiller, a Jewish scholar in ancient times. So I say that if I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I'm only for myself, then what am I? And if not now, when? That's what I will say to the person who say I'm an angry Black woman.
That's good. Now let me ask you another question. What about somebody out there who's of another race and says, "Wow, this is another new time, and I can't be held responsible for what my ancestors did." How would you respond to that?
I would respond that you are receiving the benefits of what your ancestors did. And if you do not stand up and protest the wrong that's being done in society, then you are as guilty as your ancestors. We have to understand that slavery was allowed to happen by the government and by the citizenry, white citizenry. Okay, they allowed it to happen. The atrocities that's going on in society today, where Black people are being killed unjustly, running away from the police, and then nothing happens to them, that is being done because white citizens allow it to be done. So if you allow this to be done and you do not protest, then you are as guilty as the people who are doing it. That is my belief.
Wow.
We must speak out about injustices in society. And that's what I do. I speak out. And if speaking out seems to make you feel that I'm angry, then that's your prerogative.
That's excellent. Great. Awesome answer. Now, let me ask you this question. Obama's election.
Yes.
Was that a blessing to the Black community, or was that a rubber stamp for the Black community?
I would say that overall, his election was a plus for Black people. However, it brought out the worst in some people. And what we see now, even with the current president we have, President Trump is nothing but the results of Obama's election, where Trump decided to run having no idea of the degree of hatred among whites against other people, against Blacks, against Hispanics, against Muslims, against anybody who was not white. He had no idea until he started sprouting all of those racist kinds of statements and then found out that they adored what he was saying. And that is how he became president. He would not be president without racism. So when you want to talk about angry, talk about the people who were beating Black people who attended Trump rallies. The people, that's where your anger is, not with the Black people.
Wow, that is, and I thank you for answering that question, because I know somebody's out there thinking and be like, well, would you, answer the question? And I'm glad I asked you that, because everybody can't answer every question. But you can.
Well, I don't know if I can answer every question, but I am opinionated.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good. I we got about 15 minutes to the show.
Mhm.
I want you to tell us about you in your own words. What would you tell somebody out there that's listening, young black male, a family? What words of encouragement or what would you want people to know about you?
About me personally, I'm not sure. I think that what I'd like them to know is more about themselves, more about our people. Um, we live in a society that has been controlled by white supremacist doctrine for 400 years, and we are the product of that indoctrination. And so we do not appreciate who we are. We have no idea how wonderful we are. We have no idea how powerful we are. And this is what I would want. I would want people to know. So frequently we talk about the black male and what he doesn't do and what problems he has. But in my experience, and I go out into society, black males are wonderful. Even the young thugs will say, when they see me, okay, mama, come on through. They open the door for me. They curse, they'll see me, they'll say, oh, I'm sorry. So I feel that my people basically are good people. I will die believing that my people are good people. And we have been indoctrinated to hate ourselves, to blame uh, our victimization on ourselves. Okay. For instance, yesterday I went to my film class, and I'm taking a film class over on the north side. And I came out of the film class, and everything is beautiful over there. The streets are paved, and the sidewalks, the curves, there are flowers growing everywhere. Um, all the money that is not spent on the south side and west side is being spent there. And so I said to my friend, I said, you know, every time I come over here, it hurts my heart to see how beautiful this is and how our neighborhood looks. And we pay taxes too. And she said to me, well, you know, there's two sides to everything. Black people throw paper out the window. Well, to me, this is
Wow.
blaming us for our own condition. And I believe we are victims in how our communities look many times. It's not what we are doing, it's many times what someone's doing to our communities. And that's not to say black people don't throw paper out. I've seen them throw it out, but I've seen white people throw paper out too. What happens? They have someone come along and they clean it up because those people are paying taxes. I pay taxes too. I feel if and I don't throw paper out the window. I don't trash up outside or inside my house. But I feel that if there is paper, that's what you're paying your taxes for, to come along and to clean it up. Coming over here, I always come off when the expressway gets too crowded, and I come down Roosevelt Road. And so I come through the black community. And it hurts my heart when I see how the neglect that's taken place. Somebody's paying taxes over there. Every one of those buildings is sitting over there. Somebody's paying taxes. So why are the streets all torn up? Why is the lampposts all rusted out? It's just unbelievable, and I just don't understand it. It's disingenuous, as far as I'm concerned, to allow an area to be dirty. For instance, you never see any street signs in black communities saying street cleaning on certain days. You don't see them. Why? Because they're not cleaning the streets. So to me, it's disingenuous to not clean up what you're supposed to clean up in the black community and then blame the people because it's dirty. That's disingenuous, and it's unfair, and it's unjust. That's another form of injustice.
Okay. Now, tell the listeners where they can see you Well, you were telling me about the show.
Oh, yes.
Give them the address, the information, and how they can reach you online and all your information too.
Okay. On Facebook, my name is Loretta Hawkins Firekeeper. And if you go to Google, if you Google me, you can put Loretta Hawkins / poet or Loretta Hawkins / African literature. And you can find out information about me. I will be appearing this Saturday at a performance in Dalton, Illinois. The address is 14200 South Chicago Road, Dalton. You come out to Calumet Expressway, come off at 147th, go over to Chicago Road, go make a right turn, go to Chicago Road, then turn back and come back to 147th. I will be there with two amazing poets, and I just feel so honored that they selected me to be featured with the two of them. The first is Mannerism.
Mannerism, yes.
And Mannerism.
He was here.
Okay, so you know. Mannerism, as far as I'm concerned, he's at the genius level. He can memorize and perform. Just amazing. I asked him when I saw him last Saturday, we were at an event and sharing the stage, not the same time, but we were on the same program. And I said, Mannerism, what are you doing? You know, are you memorizing? Are you free flowing? What are you doing? And he said, I'm memorizing. And I said,
Wow.
well, whatever you're doing is scary. It's scary. He has that kind of mind. The other poet is Momentum.
Oh yeah, Momentum was definitely here. That's my man there.
And Momentum did this poem that's on the Facebook now. That's Indigo presented. And it's just so profound. I mean, it's the kind of poem I listened to it several times, and I said, I wish I had written that, you know. So the three of us are the featured poets this Saturday. And again, I feel honored and humbled to be even in their presence, but to be presented with them, it makes me feel wonderful, you know, that maybe I'm okay. Maybe I'm getting to where I want to be.
You know, Momentum was he did pieces where he was adding my name or adding me into pieces. I'm like, wow, this cat is amazing. All right. And it's like I understand cultural center, right on there in Chicago.
Yes, it is.
I was
Build
there.
Your own community.
Yes,
I believe.
Yes, I've been there.
Okay,
Absolutely.
That's where it is.
Yes. Well, give us. We got time for one more piece.
Okay.
Whatever which one you want to do, if it's a poet, the ones like you read, or is it one you want to do, give us one so we can take with us.
Okay, I think I would like to do Black Like Me, if it's okay.
Black Like Me, that's it is.
This poem is an affirmation of my Blackness. Okay. I struggle to be humble in the presence of those not as Black as me, not as melanated, pigmented, elevated, God created Black as me. I understand the universe is made of 95% dark matter and dark energy like me. My Blackness protects me from the sun. I try not to boast of the sun and my Blackness and our affinity, but being richly melanated, I understand. I hold the secrets to the universe, the essence of divinity. Therefore, I struggle to be humble in the presence of those not as Black as me. And I have learned a polar bear, for instance, appears to be white, but the white appearance of his fur is simply to camouflage him from his enemy. If you shave the hair off a polar bear, he's Black like me. His Blackness absorbs the energy from the sun. The energy converts to heat. His Blackness keeps him warm. All this time we thought that his fur keeps him warm, but that's not right. That's not right. His Blackness keeps him warm, and he's Black like me. I struggle to be humble in the presence of those not as Black as he. not as melanated, pigmentated, elevated. God created black as he. I understand the universe is made of 95% dark matter and dark energy like he. His blackness in the Arctic keeps him warm. I further learned a beautiful zebra appears to be striped, black and white, black and white. But is that right? The striped appearance of her fur is simply to optically confuse her enemy. If you shave the hair off a zebra, she's black like me. Her blackness emits the heat from the sun. In other words, her blackness keeps her from getting too warm. I struggle to be humble in the presence of those not as black as she, not as melanated, pigmentated, elevated. God created black as she. And you know the black crow, the smartest bird to ever fly in God's sky. I cross my heart and hope to die if I should die. It is the smartest bird to ever fly in God's sky. This bird can talk and it can use telepathy, but because it's black, it has a bad rap and my sympathy. Therefore, I struggle to be humble in the presence of those not as black as it. If you understand the words coming from my mouth, it's some deep sugar and it's sweet and it's deep. My people make love, lying on the line of the equator. They don't need suntan lotion. The sun is their potion. They love each other. They love the sun loves them. It makes them come. 9 months later, a little one, black as the universe, a gift from the sun, black as a polar bear, a zebra, a black crow, black as the universe, black as me. I struggle to be humble in the presence of those not as black as we.
People of God, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much, Firekeeper, Mr. Rella.
I enjoyed myself immensely, and thank you so very much for inviting me.
It was
and
fun.
You continue the wonderful work that you are doing. And we're going to talk about you getting a grant. And you deserve a grant, and so you can continue this work. And the money is there, so we'll see what we can do.
Sounds good. People of God, again, you can follow me on Facebook, Minister Corey Wright, on Instagram, and Corey Joseph Wright on Twitter. Thank you again. Be your own rescue. Get up and you be the change that you're saying. Tomorrow I got K-Love. K-Love will be here. And Friday I got my pastor, Pastor Robert Sam II, and Minister Jasmine. Go ahead.
Excuse me. There's a K-Love and a Kai-Love.
Kai-Love. I'm sorry. Kai-Love. Kai-Love. Help me out. You know, Kai-Love will be here tomorrow. Then Friday, my pastor, Pastor Robert Sam II, and Minister Jasmine will be talking about generational dysfunction. So you want to tune in to both shows. God bless everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Solutions love you. Peace.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So people get ready for the train to glory, picking up passengers